Have you ever noticed how much of what we see in trends, fashion, music, even toys, it often has this like whole backstory? Makes you wonder, is it real inspiration or just clever duplication?
That's such a key question, yeah.
Mhm.
And it often gets kind of lost, doesn't it? In, the speed of trends and viral stuff,
Yeah.
what looks new. So often it has these deep roots, and seeing those roots, well, it's fundamental.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what we're doing in this deep dive. We're unpacking a really high stakes legal fight, but also this powerful cultural conversation. It's between the R&B girl group OMG Girls and the toy giant MGA Entertainment over their LOL OMG dolls.
It's a fascinating story. Really gets into style, intellectual property, and what a lot of people are calling cultural appropriation.
Right. So our mission today is basically to pull out the most important bits of info from the sources we looked at. We want to help you really get the nuances of this showdown and what it might mean for creators, especially creators of color.
Yeah, the broader implications are significant.
Okay, so to really get this story, where do we need to start? Like with the OMG Girls history.
You got to rewind a bit. Back to 2009, that's when Tamika Tiny Harris,
Yeah.
from the group Xscape, she had this vision for her daughter Zonique and her friends.
Okay.
And out of that came the OMG Girls. The name's actually an acronym, officially misguided.
Officially misguided.
Oh.
Okay. And what was it about them, their style, that was so different, so groundbreaking?
Well, their whole identity was just really unique. They weren't just singing. They set a visual standard. We're talking bright-colored hair, really futuristic fashion, these bold stage names like Star, Beauty, Baby Doll.
Okay.
And the sources are clear. They weren't chasing trends. They were making them. They were kind of like the blueprint for this whole new look.
So how big did they get? Was their influence really like that widespread?
Oh, absolutely. They blew up online, became this viral sensation, even before we were really talking about Gen Z. Their videos got millions of views. And their style, you saw it everywhere. School hallways, YouTube beauty tutorials. It just showed how potent their original look was.
Okay, so they established this really distinct, influential style. Now, this is where things take a turn, right? What happened in 2019?
Right. So fast forward about a decade, 2019, MGA Entertainment, huge toy company. They make Bratz, LOL Surprise, billion-dollar brands. They launch a new doll line. And this is where the conflict really starts.
And what was it about these dolls that started making people draw comparisons?
Well, they just had this vibe. It felt really familiar. Bubblegum wigs, blue lipstick, bold stage names, edgy personalities, very similar energy.
Hmm.
And the name MGA chose, LOL OMG dolls. That's the key detail. The sources actually say a few of them look like direct clones of the OMG girls. So more than just a coincidence, it seemed.
Direct clones? Okay, that's strong language. So how did this bubble up from online chatter into like a real legal fight? What did Tiny do?
Well, the spark really caught fire when Tiny herself posted on Instagram. This was in 2022. Fans were already buzzing about the similarities, right?
Yeah.
And Tiny posted something about needing to stand up for our culture. It wasn't just, commentary. It felt like a call to action.
And that led to the lawsuit. What were they actually accusing MGA of when she and TI took them to court?
Yeah, they filed suit. And the core accusation was basically theft. Stealing the OMG girls' look, their names, their whole aesthetic for the LOL Surprise OMG dolls.
Okay.
And they specifically called it cultural appropriation.
Right, cultural appropriation. That term comes up a lot. Can we unpack that a bit for listeners? In this context, what does that mean beyond just copying? Where's the appropriation part?
That's a really important distinction. So in this specific case, the argument wasn't just they copied us. It was that MGA, this huge, powerful company, took an aesthetic that came directly from a black girl group, then deliberately sort of scrubbed off the origins, didn't give credit, and repackaged it, turned it into this massive billion-dollar product line purely for their own profit.
Ah, okay.
So it's that act of taking, without permission or recognition, especially from a group that's maybe less powerful or historically marginalized, and then making money off it like it's your own original idea. That's the appropriation piece.
Got it. So taking from a black girl group, removing the credit, making billions, that's a serious charge. How did MGA fight back?
Well, interestingly, MGA actually shot first, legally speaking.
Yeah.
They sued Tiny and T.I. before getting sued themselves.
Really?
Yeah, seeking a court declaration saying they hadn't infringed on anything. It was a preemptive strike. And the sources say that move truly began the war.
Wow. Okay, so things got heated quickly. What was it like inside the courtroom then? I heard it was pretty intense.
Yeah. The trial was in California federal court, and descriptions make it sound almost like a courtroom reality show. Lawyers going back and forth, really intense arguments over several weeks. You could tell the stakes were incredibly high for both sides.
And what kind of proof was shown? Like, how did they try to demonstrate these similarities? Any specific examples jump out?
Oh yeah, the evidence was pretty visual. Lawyers used these side-by-side comparisons, actual photos of the OMG girls right next to the MGA dolls.
Okay.
Like, one doll had the exact same cotton candy pink and blue hairstyle that baby doll from the group wore. Exactly the same.
Huh.
And another thing, one of the MGA dolls was named Dollface, which was apparently a nickname the OMG girls themselves had used. Things like that definitely made you pause.
That does seem pretty specific. And I heard Zanique, Tiny's daughter and group member, she testified herself. What was her take?
Yes. Tiny, T.I., Sonic, they were all there. And Tiny took the stand. She talked about being shocked when she saw the dolls, how similar they looked.
Yeah.
She called it disrespectful, hurtful even, seeing their creative work mirrored like that without any acknowledgement.
I can imagine. So faced with that testimony and those visual comparisons, what was MGA's main defense? How did they counter?
MGA basically stuck to two main arguments. First, they claimed OMG in their doll line just stood for, oh my gosh, common phrase.
Okay.
And second, that their dolls were totally original creations. But the really controversial part of their defense, they argued the OMG girls just weren't well known enough to be copied.
Oof. That they weren't famous enough. How did that land?
Not well. That specific claim really struck a nerve, especially with fans online. It tapped into this bigger frustration.
What do you mean?
Well, it felt like part of a pattern, where Black creators innovate, their style gets borrowed or copied by bigger players, and then suddenly their original contribution is dismissed, minimized. Like it wasn't important enough to be copied in the first place. That defense really amplified the cultural appropriation claims.
Right. That makes sense. So how did the fans and the broader online world react? Was there a lot of noise about this?
Oh, the reaction online was huge. Overwhelmingly supportive of the OMG girls. People started digging up old videos comparing the dolls point by point to the group's performances from the early 2010s.
Ah, the receipts.
Exactly. TikTokers did deep dives with side-by-sides. Hashtags like hashtag OMG Justice and hashtag Black Girl Style Stolen started trending like crazy.
So it really became bigger than just these specific dolls or this one group.
Absolutely. It tapped into something much deeper. There was this one viral post that millions saw. It summed it up perfectly. This ain't inspiration. This is duplication. So yeah, the case became a symbol. It was about power dynamics, about owning your image, about whether these huge billion-dollar companies can just get away with, borrowing from creators of color without giving credit or cash. It really hit a nerve.
Okay, so you have this intense trial, public outcry, but then the ending was weird, right? What happened right before the jury was supposed to decide?
Yeah, it took a really wild turn. Literally days before closing arguments, days before the jury would deliberate, the case just got dismissed.
Dismissed, just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Jurors sent home, no final verdict from the court, nothing.
So what does that mean? Was there a settlement? Did MGA pay? Did anyone say anything?
Well, that's the really murky part. Sources close to the case hinted that, yeah, maybe a settlement was reached behind the scenes, but nothing official was ever announced. No public statements confirming anything, no dollar amounts mentioned, just silence.
And that silence, like you said, it feels kind of unsettling, doesn't it? What question does that leave us with?
It leaves a huge question hanging, right?
Yeah.
That silence is almost louder than a verdict sometimes. When these stories just fade out without a clear public resolution, you have to ask, was justice actually served here? Or did the more powerful side just manage to protect its brand, quietly?
It's tough because the OMG girls, they really did empower a generation, gave them confidence to be loud, colorful, be themselves. But then seeing those exact looks turned into toys, into profit with zero credit, it stopped being about just style, didn't it?
Exactly. It became a fight for respect, for basic acknowledgement of where that creativity came from.
So this whole deep dive, looking at the OMG girls and MGA's LOL OMG dolls, it really highlights that tension, that friction between individual creativity and big corporate commercialization, especially with trends and style.
It really forces you to think about where the aesthetics we see every day actually come from. Who started it?
Right. Which means maybe the next time you see a doll or a fashion trend blows up or some aesthetic goes viral, it's worth asking yourself, okay, who did this first?
And maybe even more critically,